Gran was a hero, one of humanity's 5 great champions, the blade that struck down the demon emperor himself. In that final battle, he sacrificed everything, even his own brother, to bring the monster to ruin. But victory was a lie. The emperor's curse was absolute. Whoever killed him would become his vessel. Gran's body fell on the battlefield, but his soul did not pass on. 5 years later, he awakens, weak, broken, and trapped in the body of a lowly demon. The world he saved now sees him as an enemy, and the comrades he once fought beside would slay him on sight. Stripped of honor, stripped of strength, he has only one weapon left, his cursed ability, the sea of corpses and blood. With every kill, his power grows, dragging him closer to the monster he swore never to be. To survive, Gran must endure humiliation, wear the mask of his enemies, and climb back through the shadows of the demon world itself. Every battle tears at his humanity. Every victory leaves another corpse in his wake. But his resolve remains unbroken. Once a hero, now a demon. This is not the tale of salvation. This is the legend of vengeance reborn. The story opens during the climactic confrontation between humanity and the demons. 5 heroes stood together as they faced the formidable demon emperor. The epic battle drew to a close high above on the pillar of the moon beast, a legendary summit. Although the demon emperor was defeated, the 5 human heroes suffered great losses as a result. Sword Saint Ron stepped forward, accompanied by Celestial Archer and the impeccably skilled knight He. As one of the heroes concentrated on healing the Sage of Holy Light, by using his healing abilities, interrupted him. She gently told Master to halt, insisting that his attempts would not make a difference. Explained that the injury their companion received from the Demon Emperor's last attack was too severe for to mend, especially since he was already worn out. His face contorted with rage, demands silence from the group, his voice booming with frustration. Despite her injuries, pleaded with him, urging him not to risk himself in an attempt to rescue her. She made it clear that she was satisfied with how things had concluded. Felt a deep sense of regret, knowing that even though they had won, they had failed to keep their promise to reunite as a group. Out of nowhere, the Demon Emperor's voice rang out, agreeing with earlier words and declaring that everything was truly over. His eyes widened in shock when he suddenly heard the Demon Emperor's voice. He spun toward the source of the sound, searching the area, but the Demon Emperor was nowhere to be seen. The Emperor's disembodied voice echoed, declaring itself as his own and proclaiming these as the concluding words of their grand confrontation. A surge of crimson energy bursts from the heroes' bodies as the truth dawns on them. They have fallen victim to a deception. They come to realize that anyone who ends the Emperor's life is consumed by his flesh and blood. The Emperor reveals that this is his real power. He liked to refer to it as his own form of evolution. The Emperor announces that anyone strong enough to overcome him has proven themselves suitable to serve as his next vessel. He intended to harness every one of those powers during his ambitious mission to wipe out all living beings across the globe. In particular, Gran, recognized as the mightiest of all humans, stood out. Called out desperately for Gran, struggling in vain to escape the grip of the Demon Emperor's dark magic as it threatened to overwhelm him. Realizing he could not break free, expressed his wish to die at Gran's hands instead of being turned into a weapon for the Emperor's violence. The Demon Emperor attempts to convince that harming his own allies is a reckless and unreasonable decision. Gran was reminded that was the last family he had left. Despite this, urgently yelled at Gran to act quickly, explaining that his strength was nearly gone and he couldn't keep holding on. Faced his brother, who was slowly being swallowed by shadows, gripping his sword tightly. At the same time, the Demon Emperor's voice rang out, begging to avoid the heartbreak of one sibling destroying another. Taunted Gran, questioning the unsteady grip on his sword, and doubting whether Gran had the courage to strike him down. The Demon Emperor informed everyone that opposing him would be pointless, since the right half of his body had already been consumed. For a brief moment, managed to compose himself and assured Gran that he was glad to know Gran's uncertainty did not stem from a lack of strength. Hurled himself onto Gran's sword, driving the blade through his own chest. In that final act, he seemed to choose death, hoping to relieve Gran of any guilt in the days to come. Was informed that this kind of power should be reserved solely for those who are merciless and dangerous. He proceeded to expose Gran's natural talent, a chilling force called the Sea of Corpses and Blood, This ability granted Gran lasting strength with each life he claimed. In a state of panic, clutches his sword with trembling hands and calls out desperately for Gran. As life slipped away, she pleaded with Gran to honor sacrifice. At the same time, Ran encouraged Gran to take whatever action was necessary, placing the responsibility of protecting his sister in Gran's hands. Mysterious markings surfaced on his face, each one representing a soul he had claimed, 3 in total. The Emperor's voice echoed with mockery, demanding to know his reasons for taking such actions. He revealed that the strength from absorbing 3 lives allowed him to release only his right hand. Responds by saying that a single hand will be sufficient to handle the last challenge. Without warning, lifted his sword, aiming it at his own neck as if preparing to behead himself. The Emperor, caught off guard, reacted with a mocking tone, questioning whether this drastic act was idea of a solution. The Emperor raised his voice in fury, demanding that he cease experimenting on the patients. Amid the chaos, the Emperor seized control of Gran's left hand, and stopped him from harming himself by taking hold of Gran's sword. The holy sword, Sora, is shattered into pieces. The Emperor proclaimed with unwavering confidence that his body had become so powerful, no attack in existence could ever wound him again. Responded with defiance, questioning whether the Emperor genuinely held that belief. A sword holds the power to bring about destruction. Gran drove his hand into his own chest, yet he found himself unable to bring about his own destruction. The Emperor's eyes widened in shock as Gran, showing no hesitation, drove his fist into his own chest and mercilessly crushed his heart, prompting the Emperor to shout Gran's name in disbelief. The Emperor acknowledged that he had not fully recognized his capabilities, portraying him as someone destined for violence, a person who would keep taking lives right up until his own end. As Gran's awareness slips away, he believes these are his final moments, convinced that he will perish alongside the Demon Emperor. He was haunted by remorse, knowing he had failed to wipe out the demon tribe and had been powerless to rescue those he was meant to protect. This weighed on him as his ultimate regret. 5 years had passed. 5 years after the Emperor's death, a gathering of demons assembled to honor his memory with a solemn memorial service. Their discussion revealed that they had taken 4 human girls and a single demon, intending to use them as sacrifices. The leader addresses the group, promising that the Emperor's sacrifice will be remembered by the next generation of demons. She proceeds to declare that the ceremony is beginning. The ritual begins with the killing of the 4 unblemished offerings. Afterward, the act involved spilling a demon's blood, presenting it as a tribute to the Emperor. At that moment, Gran's awareness, hidden within the form of the demonic sacrifice, stirred to life, confusion filling his mind as he tried to understand his unfamiliar surroundings. The account also included the details of how he managed to survive. The leader seized the boy, barking at him to stay still while hurling insults and calling him worthless. Once so insignificant among demons that he lacked even a proper name, stared at his reflection with wide-eyed astonishment, barely able to comprehend that he had transformed into a demon. The leader explained to him that being chosen as a sacrifice was the highest honor possible. Just as the demon leader swings his weapon downward, manages to evade the attack in the nick of time, causing the weapon to slice through his restrained hand and sever it. The leader, his voice rising with fury, is convinced that his actions have destroyed all their plans. He starts to question whether the action was intentional. Fixed the leader with a piercing stare, silently challenging whether the man truly failed to remember who he was. The leader stood motionless, stunned, as uncertainty about Gran's real identity started to fill their mind. A sequence of memories unfolds, revealing the leader from earlier times instructing a newcomer to move to the rear. The crew received urgent orders to row with all their strength, aware that the 4 masters observed their every move. The memories showed that, in the year 312 of the new era, the demon fleet had suddenly struck from the ocean, catching everyone off guard. A fierce conflict broke out with such unexpected speed that not a single person reached the scene before the fleet advanced. In the face of this danger, a solitary figure rises to challenge the advancing demon army. He was recognized by numerous names, such as the esteemed head healer of the sect of Mercy and the notorious demon-slaying madman. The Demon King made his entrance, his powerful voice resounding through the air as he called for every soldier to listen to his orders. The story swiftly shifts back to the aftermath of the battle, where the leader delivers news that all members have perished. No one except Lord Shu was present. A recap of the battle reveals that 3 demon kings lost their lives, but known as the King of Immortality managed to survive. The leader spots looming above the fallen bodies of his fellow demons, his own form smeared with their blood. In a different moment, the leader recalls remarkable ability to take apart the armored demons with ease, always aiming for the vulnerable joints to bring them down. Back in the present, discovers that his sea of corpses and blood power has been completely wiped out. During the ceremony, the other demons suddenly turned on him and launched their attack. With a powerful swing, struck down 9 opponents at once, defeating them all in a single moment. Observed that the demons he faced were incredibly feeble, and after defeating 9 of them, he realized he had gained only a small amount of strength. His natural talent is described once more, revealing that his strength grows each time he claims a life, and the amount of growth depends on how powerful his victim was. Seized a nearby demon, whose anguished cries filled the air as it pleaded desperately for release. With a weighted stride, moved toward the 4 women who had been chosen as sacrifices, his gaze shining with a turbulent blend of grief and anger. Attempts to mend his severed hand by channeling the art of healing. He recoils in horror as his hand suddenly morphs into a grotesque form, with writhing snakes sprouting from his flesh. In that instant, disbelief and terror consume them. Comes to a dreadful understanding. Instead of being granted a new life, he now exists trapped within the monstrous form of a demon. Seethed with anger and contempt toward this group, viewing them as disgraceful and beneath respect, he ultimately announces that the only purpose for this race's existence is to be destroyed by him. Gran struggled to comprehend the scene before him. His eyes grew wide with disbelief, and a crushing sense of bitterness weighed down his heart. Overwhelmed by a sudden wave of nausea, he gagged and was unable to hold back as he vomited from the shock. One of the demons that had captured began to menace him, declaring an intent to torment him relentlessly until he cried out in agony like a human, promising death would follow only after his suffering. The demon snarled, making it clear what punishments awaited, and insulted him by declaring he was the most feeble of all demons. Meanwhile, fell quiet, lost in thought as he questioned how his life had led him to such a low point. The demon noticed a change in Gran from how he remembered him, but chose to act even more menacingly in hopes of scaring him. With a swift and forceful leap, silenced the demon's protest, ripping the creature's body apart and putting an abrupt end to the confrontation. Came to terms with his new destiny, reassuring himself that everything would be acceptable as long as he was able to keep hunting down demons. He found no reason to voice any complaints. Once had eliminated the last of the demons, he recalled overhearing their conversation about how 5 years had gone by since his victory over the demon emperor. He realized that before doing anything else, he needed to locate a spot where he could stay and learn about how things were in the world now. Spotted the troll's skull, and understood that he had returned to the realm where he had once battled the enormous creature known as Yuan Shan. He observes that the demons who came after have constructed a stronghold atop the remains of the trolls. A broad view reveals the enormous remains of the troll named Yuan Shan, with a stronghold constructed atop its bones. Came across a familiar cave, one he had once used as a safe place to hide for a short time. Once he is certain that there are no signs of demonic presence, he determines that this location will serve as a secure hiding spot. Within the cave, kindled a small fire and settled himself next to its warm glow. Gran remembered a time long ago, journeying alongside his heroic friends. He had braved a river of molten lava, bearing his companions on his shoulders and pressing forward through the intense heat as though it caused him no pain. In this recollection, he teased about her rough sewing after she crafted him an outfit from leaves, prompting her to explain that she had little to work with. The rest of the team burst into laughter because of that. As he gazed at the small wooden statue carved in the likeness of a former companion, The memory slowly slipped away from his mind. With steady hands, set the statue beside the rest, each one a tribute to his fallen companions. He regretted not performing better back then. Took the wooden figure carved in his likeness and tossed it into the flames, seeming determined to remove any sign of his presence from the group. Stood silently, his eyes fixed on the statue as it was consumed by the fire. To him, the flames seemed to erase the person he once was, clearing the way for him to start anew. His mind shifted back to reality as he considered the countless lives that demons had ruined during the last 5 years. Gran came to the conclusion that his transformation into a demon gave him the perfect chance to bring down his enemies from the inside. With determination, he started to tap into the memories stored within the demon's body he now possessed. The memories showed that this body once belonged to a frail demon from the snake-blooded family. In the Yuan Shan region, a slave endured relentless torment, suffering under the harsh rule of demons who believed that power determined justice. A new, unexpected memory surfaces, revealing a sinister instructor lecturing a classroom full of demons about the current condition of their world. Could hardly believe that demons had their own system of education. He thought they existed solely to destroy, viewing them as nothing more than weapons forged by the demon emperor for war. Found himself puzzled by how the demons had built a society and made their mark on Earth in only 5 years. He carried the weight of guilt, convinced that his own lack of strength in a previous life had kept him from resolving every issue. In his heart, made a promise that, in this second chance at life, he would grow more powerful than before and relentlessly pursue his mission to track down and destroy every last demon. The focus moves to the region's second new recruit training camp. Paid close attention as a demon instructor described the present state of affairs across the continent of Solas. As a result of this explanation, comes to realize that after the demon emperor died, took charge of the demons, forming 5 powerful courts over the next 5 years, and keeping the conflict with humans alive. This resulted in a deadlock, with both groups holding an equal share of the land. The instructor shifts the topic, beginning to discuss the concept of natural abilities. The instructor clarified to the class that some abilities come naturally to individuals from birth, referring to these as innate talents. He continued by mentioning that demons, similar to lesser humans, are each endowed with a unique gift from the moment they are born. The instructor clarified that whenever humans or demons used abilities drawn from their natural gifts, they would inevitably use up some of the cursed seal energy hidden within their bodies. He told the group that their seal powers appeared as symbols, each one showing its strength by being ranked from the first, the weakest, up to the 6th, the strongest. He also mentioned that seals beyond the 6th, known as transcendent seals, were not worth discussing with newcomers like them. He proudly declared his own status as a formidable second seal holder, emphasizing that all the newcomers were still only at the first seal stage. Became aware that he, too, had reached the first seal stage. He wondered about the rarity of snake-blooded demons and recognized the importance of understanding his newly acquired innate ability. The instructor went on to describe how the second seal marked a vital stage, serving as the moment when a person could unlock the true power hidden within their natural abilities. The instructor clarified that one could only unlock the authority of an inherent talent after attaining the second seal. This ability represented a person's signature skill or final technique, unique to each individual. A skilled newcomer demon entered, causing the others to step aside in fear while he pushed Gran aside with force. Rumors circulated quietly among the crowd, describing him as a prodigy who had already reached the second seal, and warning that provoking him would be unwise. The newcomer shot Gran a scornful glance, demanding to know who had permitted a slave like him to come inside. Meanwhile, the surrounding crowd whispered among themselves, dismissing Gran as nothing more than useless garbage. The instructor demanded silence from the group and instructed that be returned to the gutter, signaling the beginning of the hands-on lesson. The instructor clarifies that neither the strength of one's seal nor natural talent alone can fully decide the result of a battle. The group realized that having knowledge, strategic thinking, and the ability to adjust quickly were just as crucial as any special ability. They were informed that the upcoming challenge would demand sharp attention to detail and thoughtful assessment, as they would need to discover the creature's vulnerability. The newcomer's eyes lit up with excitement as he finally found something that captured his attention. The instructor unveiled a gigantic creature, restrained by heavy chains, and clarified that this terrifying entity was a howling demon known for its wickedness. The emperor had once fashioned a breed of demon during his youth, creatures known for their lack of intelligence that caused them to lash out at anyone without distinction. Now, out of the original 10, only a single one remained. Grows uninterested in the lesson, convinced that nothing more of value will be taught, so he chooses to walk out. As he walked away, a sense of regret filled him, knowing he couldn't destroy every demon to strengthen his domain of corpses and blood. He knew that doing so would attract unwanted attention and lead to problems for himself. Without warning, the howling demon sprang into action, launching a powerful attack against the other demons nearby. The instructor seized hold of the creature's chains, silently reflecting that, despite the creature wielding the formidable strength of the third seal, the creature's one vulnerable spot, its throat, was firmly held by him, leaving it powerless and unable to unleash its abilities. Without warning, the dreadful howling demon starts to talk, leaving the instructor stunned. The beast taunted the instructor, referring to him as little brother, and claiming that he was wrong to think he could protect himself just by holding the creature's throat. The beast considered the younger demons to be inexperienced and foolish, having spent weeks pretending to be less intelligent in order to accomplish a secret mission. It regarded the destruction of the Court of Atrocities demons as merely a bonus to its primary objective. The creature shatters its restraints and escapes. With a sudden surge of aggression, the assailant struck the instructor down, ending his life instantly. The demons shook with fear, witnessing their instructor collapse effortlessly, his power seeming useless before the monstrous being. The wicked, shrieking creature tore through its own kind, launching relentless assaults and cutting down many without showing any sign of compassion. In the midst of the turmoil, the skilled demon suffers an injury from the strength of the third seal beast. Realizing that survival takes precedence, he chooses to retreat and save his hidden weapon for a more critical moment. As the gifted demon attempts to escape, steps in and prevents him from getting away. The gifted demon collapsed onto the floor, eyes burning with fury as he fixed his gaze on, silently questioning the reason blocked his path. His eyes fixed on him, their intensity radiating a silent menace that seemed to promise danger without a single word. The ferocious creature sensed the skilled demon trying to flee, and quickly moved in his direction. The situation sent him into a state of panic, as he understood that it was time to rely on his hidden weapon. Before the creature has a chance to close in on him, the creature abruptly stops moving, overwhelmed by the intense and frightening energy radiating from. The creature felt puzzled by the lack of fear from the frail demon before it, briefly suspecting the demon might be aware of its hidden vulnerability, but soon pushed that thought aside. The beast reasons internally that no demon from the new generation could possibly be aware of its vulnerability, since all 9 of its brothers perished long ago. The beast believes that is merely pretending. With a chilling tone, issued a stark warning that any further movement would result in its death. The creature dismissed the danger with a mocking sneer, gathering its power to assert dominance. Showed no fear and remained unmoved, ignoring the creature's menacing displays. Without warning, the monstrous demon let out a harsh snarl before retreating. It quickly assessed its chances, realizing that fighting would be far too dangerous for the small gain it might receive. The creature concluded that only someone foolish would agree to such unfavorable terms. The gifted demon stood frozen, overwhelmed by disbelief. Reached out his hand to the skilled demon, who eyed him warily, uncertain about what truly wanted. The gifted demon brusquely rejects any offer of assistance. Reached out with a chilling detachment, grabbed a fragment of the gifted demon's robe, and used it to clean the blood off his own hand. The skilled demon grew furious, insulting him by labeling him a dirty farmer. Afterward, the remaining demons gathered around, astonishment clear on their faces that he had managed to drive the beast off. Eager to uncover his secret, they pressed him for an explanation of how he accomplished the feat. A member of the warrior-class demons reminded the group that slaves were expected to keep nothing from their masters. Remaining composed, shared that he had discovered in the human tactical manual against demons that the notorious howling demons lacked steady eyesight. So by staying motionless, a person could avoid being noticed by them. The demons identified the book's author as the notorious madman known for slaying their kind. One of them remarked that knowledge of demons surpassed even their own understanding. Another felt reassured, recalling that the fearsome had died 5 years earlier. Armed with this revelation, the group agreed to pursue the beast in hopes of claiming the reward. Gran internally mocked the situation, fully aware that he had fabricated the supposed weakness of the vile howling demon. He secretly wished that the other demons would fall for his deception and end up destroying themselves. At the same time, the gifted demon seethed with frustration at Gran, interpreting his actions as both prideful and dismissive. A worried follower came over to check on him, showing concern for his well-being. However, the gifted demon refused to reveal any sign of frailty. He brushed off the concern with irritation, claiming he simply needed some rest and wished to sit down, firmly insisting that his legs were not entirely numb yet. Following that moment, the skilled demon instructed 5 of his loyal subordinates to chase after, commanding them to end his life in a way that would bring him the greatest shame. A follower confidently tells him that watching Gran die will bring a sense of satisfaction. Gran became aware that someone was trailing him. He came to a halt, turned around, and declared to those behind him that their pursuit had gone on long enough and that it was now time to face each other. The 5 demons emerged, and one among them summoned a dense mist that quickly blanketed the surroundings, making sure no one from outside could get involved. One member of the group instructed the others to quickly follow Gran, urging them to keep up so they wouldn't lose track of him. Within the mist, the demons conversed about the snake demons' natural abilities, attributing their powers to the bloodline of the ancient serpent, and they cautioned one another about the danger of its poisonous bite. They dismissed the threat, convinced that its venom would be harmless because his seal power was so weak, and after agreeing to divide into groups, they began searching for him. One of the individuals cried out in agony, clutching his stomach where Gran's snake had sunk its fangs into him. At that moment, the demon burst apart, sending out a thick mist that quickly enveloped his fellow fighters. The group soon notices that the fog carries a dangerous venom, and as it stings their eyes, they cry out in agony. Announces his intention to challenge his new innate talent by pitting it against the 5 demons. He activated his thermal vision, allowing him to make out shapes and movements through the dense fog. He then unleashed snake-like blows with his arms, mimicking a serpent strike. Marvels at the strategic advantages his new ancestry offers, realizing they far surpass those he possessed in his previous existence. The red demon summoned his strength to forcefully clear the fog from his path. Once the mist lifted, found himself confronting the final pair of demons that remained. They ridiculed him, believing he was insignificant without his toxic mist. The red demon flexed his muscles, putting his power on display to try and scare Gran. Fixed his gaze on the red demon, his eyes betraying the mounting impatience he felt. Charges at his opponent and takes him down with one swift strike that goes straight through his heart. The remaining person quickly gives up, pleading desperately for their life to be spared. Demanded an explanation, prompting the demon to shift the blame onto the skilled, blonde-haired demon, insisting that he had merely been obeying instructions. Remains unconvinced by the explanation given. The frightened demon proposes bringing to a hidden cave owned by a skilled demon, convinced that the place is filled with valuable riches. Found the suggestion intriguing, believing that enhancing his sea of corpses and blood skill could bring him closer to breaking the second seal and unlocking his snake-molting power, a transformation that demanded a unique treasure to trigger the next stage of his evolution. Decided to visit the cave. The demon guided toward a rushing waterfall, explaining that the yellow hare's treasure was concealed within the cave tucked behind the curtain of water. Forcefully pushed aside the demon that had led him into the cave. The second person walked forward, only to be caught off guard when a barrage of lethal arrows shot out and struck him, piercing through his body. With a chill in his tone, offered a mocking expression of gratitude, then vanished into the shadows of the cave. In another location, the female demon in charge of the Yuan Shan region was informed that the notorious Howling Demon had disrupted activities at the second training camp for new recruits. The report continued, stating that the troublemaker had run away in terror after being confronted by a demon slave from the snake lineage. Listens to the news with genuine curiosity. Within the cave's shadowy interior, discovers nothing but a modest-sized box. Just then, a skilled demon with striking yellow hair emerged out of nowhere and swiftly grabbed the box away from his grasp. He shouted angrily at Gran, furious that she had touched his belongings. The skilled demon launched an attack, yet effortlessly defended himself and swiftly fractured the demon's leg. The gifted demon stared in disbelief at Gran, amazed by the drastic change in both his demeanor and strength, and suddenly understood why Gran's 5 subordinates had failed to defeat him. Because the area is cramped and his wound is slowing him down, he understands that battling here would be impossible. The gifted demon realizes that withdrawing is the wisest course of action for now. Utilizing his natural ability known as rock feather armor, he caused wings to emerge from his back, allowing him to soar into the sky and escape. When the airborne demon appeared before them, his mind drifts back to a time when he encountered a different winged demon. With tremendous power, hurled himself out of the cave. Recalling this memory stirred an intense anger deep inside him. The gifted demon's eyes widened in disbelief as he realized had succeeded in catching up to him. Quickly closes the distance between himself and the escaping demon, unleashing a relentless series of powerful punches against his opponent. The skilled demon delivered a powerful kick that sent flying, and he tumbled into the waters of a nearby lake. The skilled demon ridiculed, pointing out that he had ended up in the juice lake. The area became swarmed by an unending horde of vicious insects, which immediately set upon, launching their relentless assault. The gifted demon gravely informed Gran that the bloodthirsty biliary insects inhabiting Yuan Shan were both endless in number and possessed an unquenchable hunger, as numerous as the hairs on an ox. He mentions his anticipation at seeing them feast on his body, imagining nothing left behind but bare bones. The demon reflected on how the potent liquid extracted from the fallen troll, Yuan Shan, had been sufficient to create this lethal lake. He reasoned that if Yuan Shan had survived, the humans would have already been destroyed. Launched himself at the swarm of insects, his incredible strength evident in every move as he battled them fiercely. While battling each insect individually, the skilled demon found himself taken aback by the strength Gran displayed during the fight. He taunted his opponent, claiming that no matter how strong he was, his power meant nothing when faced with an unending swarm of insects. Unleashed his snake-like power, striking swiftly and repeatedly to wipe out swarms of insects at once. Although faced with criticism, the skilled demon persisted in ridiculing his opponent's quickness, sneeringly referring to him as nothing more than a dirty farmer. The skilled demon kept taunting, comparing his snake-like strikes to sluggish earthworms. He instructs him to remain still and endure a slow, inevitable demise. Before long, managed to wipe out a vast swarm of the juice insects. Bodies tumbled down from above, descending through the air. Without hesitation, he launched a direct assault against the skilled demon. The demon stared in shock as Gran moved with a swiftness far greater than before. Believed that despite having defeated numerous insects, their weakness only allowed him to advance to the second seal level. Despite everything, he remains confident that his abilities are sufficient to handle the troublesome bird. Stepped forward to confront the demon, warning him with a menacing glare that if the demon dared to blink again, would not hesitate to cut off the top of his skull. The demon accuses him of being insane. However, Gran's astonishing quickness catches her completely off guard. Fueled by rage, the skilled demon revealed a hidden power and set it loose. Emperor recalled discovering the demonic arrow alongside his sister during their days by the sea, and he felt certain that destiny intended for him to wield it now. The arrow struck. Dark, snake-like energy coiled around his form, encircling the arrow crackling with purple lightning. He plunges down into the dark, cold waters of the lake. The gifted demon felt a wave of worry as he pondered the reality of what had happened, uncertain whether had truly suffered harm from the powerful strike of the thunder arrow. The gifted demon's sister appeared, her expression filled with worry as she checked to see if he was all right. He reassured her of his well-being, explaining that he had just confronted a thief who attempted to take their possessions. He lifted a treasured object, describing its purpose as a remedy for her eyesight, and vowing to safeguard it at any cost. Beneath the surface, his body responded in an unusual way to the arrow. He found it odd, since he didn't remember the arrow possessing the power to alter someone's physical form. He questioned internally what was causing his body to respond so strangely to the arrow. Gran experienced a sudden flash of understanding, as though the confusing fragments in his mind had finally assembled into a clear picture. A gigantic snake emerged in front of, twisting its body into a looping figure that resembled the symbol for infinity. Becomes aware that the unusual offering of the arrow has caused his body to react on its own, automatically activating his authority. He feels lucky that things have unfolded this way. The true power held by the ancient serpent bloodline comes to light. A snake shed its old skin. A tremendous burst of energy surged out from the lake. The demon and his sister observed as the last bubbles vanished from the surface of the water, convinced that had not survived. He assured his sister that they could at last unwind, just as a flash of lightning split the sky above them. Without warning, the sky transformed as dense, dark clouds rolled in, blanketing the sun. Rain began to pour, drenching the earth and creating puddles everywhere. Thunder crashed loudly overhead, while fierce bolts of lightning split the sky with blinding flashes. The skilled demon stood motionless, his gaze growing wide with shock while he witnessed the fierce, dark lightning tear across the sky. A huge streak of purple lightning crashed down onto the lake, setting off a powerful blast that rang out across the surroundings, while towering waves surged upward. The demon's sister, gifted with extraordinary abilities, observes that a figure has leapt from the sudden burst of lightning. When her brother inquires about its whereabouts, she extended her finger toward the spot, indicating its location. The skilled demon stared in disbelief, his gaze fixed on, who stood boldly atop a statue rising from the center of the water. Emerged at the center of the lake, transformed into a powerful thunder being. An intense glow of purple lightning crackled around him, radiating a dangerous energy. The gifted demon and his sister freeze in disbelief, as the pouring rain drenches them. With a steady demeanor, explains to the group that he deliberately delayed them so they would face their demise. He quickly admitted his error, which infuriated the skilled demon. The demon charged at him, shouting not to act so arrogant and insulting him by calling him a dirty farmer. Skillfully deflects the incoming blow and simultaneously slices his opponent. Gran's opponent soared through the air, his furious shouts echoing as he blamed Gran for deceiving him. Suddenly materialized behind his adversary and ripped off one of the opponent's wings. As he did so, he reflected inwardly that facing someone of this caliber wouldn't truly challenge the limits of his present strength. The skilled demon plunged into the water. The gifted demon's sister hurried over to her brother, anxiety written across her face as she imagined the worst possible scenarios. The gifted demon laments his own frailty, longing for greater strength. Driven by anxiety over what might happen to his sister once he is gone, he taps into hidden reserves of strength he never knew he had. A surge of brilliant yellow energy burst forth with tremendous force. Observes the change taking place. At that moment, his sister notices that her brother has at last unlocked the power of the rock feather armor. No longer willing to weigh him down, his sister makes up her mind that she must stand by his side in the battle. She activated her power, manipulating the demonic eye, and called forth an enormous creature that rose from the depths of the water. The siblings shouted together, showing everyone that they were prepared for a crucial fight where the outcome could mean survival or defeat. Her brother summoned his powerful move, sending a barrage of arrows that shook the heavens, and together the siblings combined their strength to strike Gran with a fierce, coordinated assault. Himself unwavering as two opponents closed in, his body crackling with the force of purple thunder energy that swirled around him. Moving at top speed, the character raced directly toward them. Skillfully avoided the barrage of feathers sent his way by the gifted demon. The young man moved closer to the skilled demon and delivered a swift kick to the demon's face. The forceful kick sent the skilled demon soaring across the sky, hurling it far from the scene of battle. The monstrous creature, called forth by the gifted demon's sibling, moved closer with the intent to consume. Unleashed the nether thunder serpent strike, sending out a huge surge of purple energy that twisted into the shape of a serpent. With swift movements and impressive skill, the beast is no match for the hero, who overpowers it without difficulty. The skilled demon recognizes this moment as an ideal chance. He chooses to hide behind the bodies of the insects, hoping to catch his enemy off guard with an unexpected assault. Gran quickly catches on to the strategy, conceding that his adversary possesses a certain cleverness. Responded to the assault by unleashing his own power, surrounding himself with a surge of purple energy that blocked the attack. At that instant, his sister activated her demon eye, a power that allowed her to reinforce her brother's assault through sheer force of will. The move then evolves into a more powerful skill known as the sky-scorning returning drill. The skilled demon observes the swift decline of seal power, believing is using every ounce of strength to protect himself, and boldly declares that the attack is unstoppable. Acknowledge the strength of his opponent's move, recognizing it as not only impressive but seemingly unbeatable. Because of this, he sees no option other than to utterly destroy it. The conflict concludes as the brother and sister, badly hurt, plunge into the water, signifying their defeat. As the gifted demon lay dying, he attempted to hand his sister a small pouch, urging her to take it and escape. However, she could not bring herself to abandon him, refusing to leave his side. Appeared and brought his foot down hard on the gifted demon's hand, crushing it against the ground and pinning the pouch beneath his boot. The gifted demon pleaded with to give back the pouch, desperately trying to make him understand that his sister's eyesight depended on eating human eyes that had just been taken, or else she would lose her vision. Gran explained to him that the issue could easily be fixed using a basic healing technique. The skilled demon explained that healers with true talent were even less common than human eyes themselves. Gran had informed him that, because of this scarcity, countless blameless people had been deprived of their sight. The demon's sister leaves the treasure behind and pleads desperately for her life, imploring to spare them and take whatever he wants. The rain came to an abrupt halt, and Gran turned to the demon, questioning whether the victims had pleaded for mercy as their eyes were taken. The demon's sister stared in disbelief, unable to find any words. Insists that a clear answer, either yes or no, must be given. The demon's sister confessed that the memory had slipped from her mind. Gran realized he had been making the situation more complicated than it needed to be. Even with their advanced society and complex feelings, he understood that demons, at their core, had not truly changed. Their actions had shifted. Instead of simply causing harm, they now hurt others to serve their own interests. They regarded life as having no value and viewed causing pain to others as an ordinary part of existence. Afterward, considers how acquiring the powerful thunder form stands as his greatest achievement up to this point. He soon discovers that activating the ability drains a significant portion of his seal power, making it impossible for him to use it without restraint at the moment. In another location, a demon discovered the lifeless forms of the brother and sister and hurried off to inform his superior. The leader clarified that the sudden shift in weather was unrelated to the deaths of the siblings, whose heads had been instantly destroyed by a bolt of lightning. The group's leader, known as Skull Crusher, suddenly emerged, labeling the approach as both swift and aggressive. She then announced her realization that an outsider had trespassed onto her domain. Declared that, from that moment forward, she herself would be responsible for looking into any mysterious deaths involving promising new recruits. At the same time, made his way through the dense forest, moving carefully between the towering trees. When approached and demanded to know his identity and purpose for being there, explained that he was searching for wild fruits he could collect and later plant. Recalled seeing him before and realized he was the slave whose bravery had driven away the dreaded howling demon she had heard stories about. She explains to him that something of greater significance has come up, She hurled him to the ground and pressed him down with her foot, then remarked that she'd been wanting a fruit pie recently and warned him to bring back some quality fruit. She bent over him, warning that if he refused, she would turn him into a tasty meal. Takes advantage of being close to study her seal abilities. She recognized that she had reached the 4th seal level and specialized in defense, her impressive strength reminding him of his old ally. Assessed the circumstances, recognizing that his transformation into a speed-oriented demon provided him with an upper hand when facing strong adversaries. However, he also realized that his current abilities offered little power to break through an enemy who relied on defense. He regretted that he could not kill the 4th seal demoness, knowing that doing so would greatly strengthen his sea of corpses and blood ability. He quickly notices that her strength far surpasses his own, and without any knowledge of what could make her vulnerable, he understands that his odds of victory are nearly non-existent. Even so, he questions how he might overcome his longing to possess her. At the same time, flips through the pages of the Encyclopedia of Innate Talents, looking for information. The goal was to discover which ability had been responsible for the deaths of the 2 demons. She decides that the electricity storage organ ability is not the answer, since the patterns on the body do not align with those caused by that kind of electric current. She comes across information describing the sea of corpses and the blood talent, explaining that those who possess this ability grow stronger each time they take a life. She immediately rejects the idea without a second thought. Gran comes to the conclusion that he needs to boost his strength until he can eliminate her in one swift, unexpected strike, ensuring she remains completely unaware of his intentions. He notices 2 demons in control of a cart, with one cautioning the other that their leader would end their lives if she discovered what they were doing. The other person offered comfort, explaining that their location was secret enough to keep them safe from being discovered by her. From afar, observes the group intently. He believed this secluded spot offered the safety he needed to grow stronger without being discovered. Approached the mouth of a shadowy cave. At the entrance, a guard blocks his path and insists that he provide the secret password required for access to the black market. Within the building, a lively and crowded black market operates. Stormed into the room and hurled the severed head of the guard straight into the roaring flames. He catches snippets of conversation as a group of demons complains about the difficulty of obtaining passwords. One of them reminisces about the past in the Yuan Shan region, when purchasing humans was simple and common. Now, everything has become hidden and secretive. A merchant presented morning steel, a rare and superior metal known to greatly increase the power of sword moves by several times. A customer appeared skeptical about its practicality, expressing that he had never encountered a blacksmith capable of working with this type of steel. A different merchant displayed potions promising enhanced seal powers, claiming they were crafted from the hearts of creatures that walked on 2 legs. One demon remarked that if their leader discovered this illegal trade, she would punish the seller severely, while another demon looked over the merchandise with interest, feeling that the visit had been worthwhile. A demon questioned the reason behind the boss's decision to prohibit the exchange of all human goods and slaves 2 years earlier. In response, another demon explained that the boss had claimed it was to preserve resources, though many suspected she had gone mad. Observes the unusual actions and concludes that the boss must be scheming something. A merchant revealed that a new group of human goods had just arrived, pointing out that their prices were fair since every one of them, except for the first, could not see. An upset customer lashed out, claiming the merchant was attempting to deceive them by selling faulty products. Meanwhile, someone else chimed in, mentioning rumors of a brother and sister who were stealing people's eyes, and suggested that the merchant must have benefited from their crimes before anyone else. The merchant attempts to soothe the restless crowd, promising to offer the current batch at a deeply discounted rate. Moved ahead and declared his intention to purchase every one of them. The merchant eyed with skepticism, clearly doubting that he could afford the goods given his ragged appearance. In response, proposed an exchange. He would trade the fierce thunder arrow, and if the merchant found the offer unacceptable, he could simply ignore the suggestion. The merchant noticed the arrow and quietly wondered if was referring to the special weapon owned by the boy with yellow hair. Gesturing to his assistant, the merchant instructed them to escort the humans outside, making it clear he wished to have a private conversation with. The humans received a summons and were instructed to step outdoors. A visually impaired boy lost his balance and tumbled to the ground, his hands searching anxiously across the floor for the object he had dropped. The person is forcefully pulled out into the open air. The guard felt disappointed, thinking about how he had hoped to save one for his own dinner. The merchant questions, wondering whether he fears the yellow-haired boy discovering that he has taken the boy's treasure. Reveals his eagerness to be done with the task quickly. Without warning, lunged at the merchant, unleashing a vicious assault before subjecting him to relentless and cruel torment. The merchant struggles desperately to break free, but seizes him firmly and pulls him back into the building. He shut the door to the room, and moments later, a dark red liquid began to trickle out from beneath the doorway. Once ended the merchant's life, he exited the room without looking back. He eliminates every one of the merchant's companions in the bustling marketplace. Outside, a demon commanded the humans to stay quiet and follow instructions. The character menaced the others by saying they would tear out their tongues and cook them over a fire. Emerged without warning and swiftly eliminated the guards before they had a chance to react. Realizes he finally has some means of protection, yet he observes that the counter has already finished its cycle. A young girl gripped by fear saw the events unfold before her eyes. Is viewed as a monster even by other demons. A message popped up, revealing that Authority Lucky Day could not be triggered. Recalled that this particular authority was uncommon and often brought harmful consequences. It could not be controlled by willpower, and might trigger on its own whenever the counter finished a loop and advanced to the following digit. Gazes at the last two children left in the room. He handed the item back to the child, who was still wearing the blindfold. The boy, unable to see due to his blindfold, recognizes the items as belonging to his group and retrieves them from. Gran instructed everyone to walk behind him. The girl wondered aloud if he would keep a hold on the rope guiding them. Tossed the rope onto the ground, making it clear through his words that he disliked watching others being guided or controlled. After Gran finished restoring their sight, one of the humans broke into a joyful outburst, overwhelmed with gratitude and astonishment. He marveled at his ability to see once more, praising Gran as a remarkable savior and expressing disbelief that someone so kind existed among their group. A different man rebuked his companion for speaking out of turn to the person who had aided them. The man who was scolded quickly expressed regret to Gran, noting that his friend remained fearful of the yellow-haired demons and struggled to communicate, and he pleaded for Gran's understanding. At the same time, the young boy expressed his gratitude to Gran for retrieving their possessions and curing their vision, but Gran hushed him. The young girl wonders aloud about Gran's motives, questioning why he would rescue them from the demons when he appears to be one himself. In response, Gran explains that he acted purely out of personal desire. The girl reacts with wide eyes and a furrowed brow, clearly not expecting his response and struggling to make sense of it. Fixes her with a stern gaze and commands her to remain silent, making it clear that the grown-ups have important matters to attend to. He stands there, looking at the people he just saved, thinking about the best way to say goodbye for real this time. Everything goes quiet after that, and the little girl just stands there, not really sure what she's supposed to do next. Out of nowhere, she lights up like she just thought of the perfect way to break the awkward silence. The girl looks around at everyone, then decides it's time to break the awkward silence with a joke and try to get everyone smiling again. She jumps into a story about this tavern that had a festival deal. Basically, if you got a third drink, it was cheaper. She's got this easy smile as she goes on, mentioning how some guy just rolled up to the bar and asked the bartender for a glass of that second drink. Right then, the guys she just saved just stare at her, totally missing whatever joke she was going for. The little girl tries to play it off, putting on her face when she sees nobody really laughed at her joke. Out of nowhere, someone lets out a quiet laugh that bounces off the cave walls, catching everyone off guard. One of the guys nods toward the main character, and the little girl lights up, super happy that someone actually got her joke. Just then, this shadowy snake suddenly shoots up from under his feet and darts ahead. The creature suddenly coils around the little girl. She totally freaks out, screaming because she has no clue what's going on. The serpent lashes out at everyone else, and they all start freaking out, yelling as the pain hits them. One of the guys drops to the floor, totally stunned, yelling for someone to come help him. He just can't wrap his head around getting betrayed like that. The guy sits on a rock, glancing down at the group. He's thinking about how they totally shouldn't have trusted him, like they had no clue what he was really about. He thinks you can never trust the demonic race, saying they always keep something dark hidden inside. Our hero just smirks, kinda letting everyone know this is what goes down when they trust him. He wants them to keep this moment in mind, like a reminder that he's got it handled. Right after that, all the people who just got saved drop to the ground. They look totally out of it, barely moving after getting hit by the poison. He walks up to the little girl, trying to figure out why she isn't affected by the poison he dropped. He saw the girl crying, and realized she was saying he never planned to take them out for good. He just wanted to knock them out and leave it at that. He just sat there for a second, not saying anything. You could tell by his face he was deep in thought. He thinks she's only here to prove a point about not trusting demons, and he can't help but wonder why she's so confident about it. She shouts out that the only reason she trusts him all the way is cause he's actually a good demon. Right then, the little boy opens his eyes and looks over at his friend, wondering what she's thinking of doing next. Her eyes lit up like she was down to join him, but the MC just shot her down, saying he's not looking to drag anyone along who can't keep up. She lets him know her name is Sulla and says she's a blacksmith. She also promises she's not going to mess up his plans or slow him down. He hears the name and instantly remembers it. He wonders if she's related to a guy named, maybe his granddaughter or something. Sola gets caught off guard and nods, trying to figure out how this guy knows her grandpa. The main character just zones out, stuck thinking about it. He lets everyone know they've known each other for a long time, and even says he used to hold her when she was just a baby. Right then, an old forge pops into his head, giving him a quick glimpse into what his life used to be like. The memory shows Sulla's grandfather standing firm, making it clear he never makes swords for people who hurt their own or go after innocent folks. He locks eyes on our hero, looking dead serious and kind of sketchy, like he's trying to figure out what's really going on. The blacksmith notices right away that the MC still has that bloody vibe, saying his talent seal basically holds onto the scent, even though years have gone by. The guy tries to get the main character to leave, but the MC lets him know that sister is the reason he's there, and she's the one who sent him to look for him. He points at the steel sword the blacksmith's working on, making it clear that's the one he wants. The old man stops what he's doing and checks if the guy is here with his sister. The hero just gives a quick nod, letting everyone know he's ready. Goes quiet for a second, his face all serious while he checks out what's going on. He decides to make a sword, figuring this is the perfect way to pay her back for that favor he still owes. Old man pulls out this small statue he got from the sister and explains he's planning to turn it into the blades. He wants to know how soon he can grab the sword, but just tells him to chill and wait a few days. He says he's gotta get a scholar to come over and bless his grandkid since the baby's almost here. The camera cuts, and now he's down on one knee out in this freezing, empty field, snow everywhere. In the background, there's a house that's totally wrecked with pieces everywhere. Right in front, a sword is just stabbed into the ground, standing out in all the chaos. Shows up holding a baby in his arms. The hero spots him and walks over, wanting to know what happened to his sword. The blacksmith nods toward the weapon jammed in the snow, basically letting the warrior know he's gotta grab it on his own. Alexis points out that the sword has the name Sulla on it, which just so happens to be the same name as his granddaughter. The kid gets real for a second and asks where the little kid's parents are. E lets him know that by the time a bunch of demons swarmed the village, they were already gone. He tells them that the creatures showed up and just destroyed everything in sight, not letting anyone get away. He wonders if sister and the girl our guy likes both got their hands pierced too. The MC's face says it all. He looks hurt as he realizes everyone's gone, and it's all because of the demon race. The blacksmith gives the baby to the warrior, thinking about how the kid never even got her blessing. He glances down at little Sulla in his arms, eyes locked in and ready for whatever comes next. He goes ahead and gives her his blessing, hoping her name sticks with him as he heads out on his next adventure. Wonders if he should swap out the swords, right as some demons start closing in on them. He points out that with how our hero is now, maybe mercy isn't even on the table anymore. He stands there, staring down the enemy army, wondering what mercy even means in a moment like this. He starts thinking about it and realizes that helping the injured is really just something the mercy sect tells themselves to feel better. He gets ready for the fight, gripping his new sword and staring down a swarm of demons. He promised himself he'd step up before any bad guys even tried to mess with innocent people. With his new sword in hand, he goes straight at the swarm of demons, ready to wipe every last one out, no holding back. The hero goes all in, landing sharp hits that wreck everything in his path. Every swing of his blade leaves stuff smashed behind him. He wipes out a bunch of monsters instantly, showing off just how fast and strong he really is. He looks locked in, totally focused. All he cares about is throwing down until everyone else is out of the picture. Blood dripping down his face, he's dead set on taking out every enemy in his way, promising to keep going until the bodies pile up so high they literally look like mountains. He thinks real mercy means wiping out everyone causing trouble, so the good people won't have to deal with pain ever again. Now back in the present, Young remembers how her grandpa would always talk about him. But looking at him now, she can't help but wonder why he shows up looking like some kind of demon. He brushes off the question, just saying it's a long story and that he looks after himself. Then he flips it and starts asking her stuff instead. Stands there, arms crossed, totally set on her plan. She's not heading back to her grandpa until she's made the best demon-slaying sword ever. He couldn't help but notice how locked in she was, her reflection showing up in his eyes while he watched her, totally focused. He tells her not to give up, and she instantly lights up, wanting to know if he actually thinks she can pull it off. The main guy just kind of sits there, thinking about it, and honestly, he admits to himself that having something you're really into is actually pretty cool. Deep down, he's wishing he had something like that too. Once he's done, he grabs some paper and scribbles out a note for the humans. He lets them know he's the vampire knight and drops some instructions for them to follow. He dips, leaving the humans knocked out on the grass. When they wake up, they'll be good to go. One of the guys wakes up, spots the note, and instantly gets hyped. He can't believe it. They actually got rescued by the legendary vampire knight. The humans who just got rescued throw on some clothes and start making their way out, ready for whatever comes next on their road to freedom. The kid just stands there, not really believing what went down, kind of stuck wondering if any of that actually happened. Back at the cave, he pulled up and let everyone know he handled a couple demons. Stands next to the forge she built by herself, looking pretty proud. She makes it clear that putting it together wasn't even hard for her. She can't help but wish she could get her hands on the good stuff, but it's stuck in a mine that's already taken. With nowhere to show what she can really do, she just ends up holding back her real skills. He gives her this super rare gold piece, and she just freezes, totally caught off guard. He mentions he already snagged the stuff earlier and gets hyped, calling him a legit master thief. The hero wants to know if can actually forge that steel. Not missing a beat, flexes a little, and lets him know she's basically top 3 in the world at it. When he finds out the third blacksmith is actually the demon king of war, his face totally changes. He looks serious, like he just realized things are about to get real. She lets him know this king is basically the strongest ever, and there are only 6 weapons like this on the whole planet. He zones out for a second, then it hits him. He's gotta level up quick if he wants any chance against whatever's coming next. Wants to know where he's headed, and he just says he's off to keep grinding, trying to level up his skills. Somewhere else, a demon showed up to tell his boss that nobody made it out of the black market. Hearing this, she totally lost it. The boss chills out in a hot spring, not stressing at all, while he tells his guys to put the bodies up in the middle of town, so everyone knows not to mess around. The lackey doesn't get how they're supposed to track down who did it, but the boss shuts him down fast and tells him to just get back on the grind. She lets him know that if the farm slave's breakfast isn't on point tomorrow, he's basically done for. She slides down into the water, realizing she seriously wants something sweet, like real top-tier sugar. While this is going down, a few demons start chatting about what's happening. One of them's convinced it's just some bandits rolling in from a different area. He's just hanging back when he catches part of their talk. Someone drops that if a high-level demon shows up, the boss is definitely gonna notice, unless the demon's got a solid disguise. He notices the monsters are totally ready for anything now, so he gets his hand glowing green, thinking fast about what to do next. He spots a bunch of monsters nearby, and figures it's way smarter to play the weak eye. That way, leveling up gets a whole lot easier. Some demons came across the body of one of their own. They noticed it's been happening a lot these days, like it's basically turning into a regular thing. He hears what they're saying and starts thinking. He knows he didn't take that guy down, so something's definitely off here. He walks through the village, thinking if someone else out here is hunting demons too, not just him. He freezes, instincts kicking in. He can tell someone else is there. His eye lights up, locked in as he tries to sense whatever weird vibe is around. He looks around the empty village, trying to figure out what's giving him that weird vibe. He looks down a nearby alley and spots a sketchy figure slipping through the shadows. He thinks it's weird that anyone would bother following a regular slave like him, and he knows for sure it's not because they want tips on growing wheat. The mysterious figure finally steps forward, leaving the shadows behind. Our guy gets ready, locking in for whatever's about to go down. The cloaked figure didn't waste a second. He rushed in fast and swung a heavy punch straight at him. Right after he dodges, he comes back swinging and lands a punch on the other guy. The enemy's defense is just way too tough, and our hero can't hold up. He completely falls apart. When he made contact, it was his own hand that took the hit. He can't believe how tough the enemy is, like every attack just bounces off. He just took the hit like it was nothing, barely even reacting to our guy's punch. The enemy locks eyes with him, sizing him up. He smashes through the wooden beam, propping up a water basin on top of the house next door, sending it breaking apart in seconds. The enemy looks up and notices the water's about to drop straight on their heads. Spotting his chance, he darts forward, ready to throw hands with the enemy. By the time the week wrapped up, everything just felt different. The enemy didn't expect him to bounce back like that after getting nailed, but somehow, he's still ready to throw hands. He hears the enemy calling him out for taking it too easy. Nobody really knew how many blocks he had, but when the guys rushed in, they just went for him. The lifts his hand, and suddenly this purple energy starts pouring out like he's powering up for something big. Everyone can tell he's getting ready to go all in. Out of nowhere, the energy just bursts out and blasts straight at the enemy, catching him totally off guard. The attack hits so hard that the whole spot where the enemy was standing just gets wiped out. Purple energy bursts out and sweeps through the whole village, wiping out everything it touches. He thinks about whether the enemy tanked that hit, maybe even cranking up his power inside to handle it. The two stand off in the middle of all the wreckage, each one giving off their own colored energy. The enemy's cloak started fading away, almost like it was melting into water right in front of him. The mantle just melts away, drops to the floor and shatters everywhere. All that's left on the village ground now are some ripped up pieces of the cloak, just lying there. The enemy steps out and lets it be known she isn't chasing after him. She already gets that catching him just isn't happening. She's convinced he's trouble and can't decide if she should just take him out now, or maybe, if she ever gets her hands on him, make him follow her around and do whatever she says. Somewhere else, he realized all he could do right now was annoy her a bit, nothing serious. If he wanted to really win, he'd have to come up with a whole new plan. Smoke suddenly fills the air, almost like someone dropped a curtain right in the middle of everything. Out of nowhere, he suddenly pictured stuck in a bad situation, and it got him stressing hard. Once his eyes finally adjust, he immediately starts looking for her. Nobody really got why she skipped building a chimney. Notices the temperature is climbing way too fast, so he rushes over to the forge, trying to sort things out before it gets out of hand. She stands there, totally locked in, gripping the hot metal with tongs. Sweat runs down her face as she pushes herself, not letting up for a second. With smoke floating around, she keeps hammering away at the forge. Meanwhile, he's just standing there, locked in and watching her every move. He wonders if the sword is actually his, nods and holds out the final blade, pointing out that she made it the perfect size for him since he's not super strong yet. Back in the present, Sola's totally hyped as she works on the new sword for the hero. She's all in, thinking this one's her best work yet. Sola lets the guy know that Jilong would been proud of how good the sword looks now. The new blade comes out, showing off those wavy patterns and shining with a strong gold glow. He picks up the new weapon, checking it out, seriously impressed with how solid it feels. He can tell right away the girl really knew what she was doing. Her skills in forging are next level. He wants to know about the guard hilt and pommel, but the girl tells him she still doesn't have what she needs to make them. He grabs a cloth, wraps it tight around the blade, and figures this'll do for now. He checks out the new weapon, and wonders if Little Sola's already named it. She thinks the new sword should be called Little Sola since the big one was named Sola, and he's cool with that. Everyone gets a first look at the weapon, all finished up, glowing with this crazy green energy around it. He thinks his steel sword side is totally locked in, almost like his body's just itching to soak it up, like it's some kind of ritual. He holds himself back, thinking it's not the right moment. He knows he has to chill until the sword is finished, since it can't level up until then. Sola grabs her hammer, all fired up, ready to put in the work and get that weapon done. You can tell she's locked in and not about to slack off. She wanted to know if he could pull off his sword move, but he just shook his head and pointed out that the spot was way too short for it. The next morning, Sola's passed out, totally wiped from yesterday. He's out cold, drooling on his pillow like he didn't even hear his alarm. She's out cold until this awesome smell hits the room and pulls her back awake. She instantly notices how good it is, like her senses just lit up. Just stands there, eyes glued to the table, totally locked in on this massive fruit pie sitting right in front of her. Her jaw's practically on the floor. She can't believe how huge it is. She's curious about how he even knows how to make something like that. He just tells her he picked it up at the Royal Academy. He grabs another piece of fruit and sets it right on top, just to make the dessert look even better. The hero grabs the pie and heads out, not sticking around. Meanwhile, the two guards talk about grabbing some wine for their boss. He walks into the hall and spots the territory's commander already there, just chilling on the couch like he owns the place. Their eyes lock for a second. He's all business, not messing around, while the demoness just throws a sly grin his way. He walks up with the tray, and the commander points out how big it is, wanting to check what's on it. She gives him props for being smart and basically handing himself over to her without even realizing it. She leans in for the pie, calling out how smart he is again, almost like she can't get over it. Right then, she spins around and calls out to the guards, telling them to hurry up with the wine. While the enemy was distracted, he went straight in, switching to his thunder form and catching everyone off guard with the attack. The commander freezes up, a fresh cut on her face. She spots the steel sword and instantly knows what it is. He steps up, letting her know that next time, she might not get off so easy. The chief calls up this huge golden shield, the Aegis of Dawn, ready to hold her ground. The guy figures she's got that defensive talent seal, just like he thought. Now he's curious and wants to see how solid it really is. She's not into surprises like this, so she gets ready to throw down. He just shook his head, thinking maybe he should toss more honey into the pie for her. He rushes in, throwing out this wild purple energy blast that smashes straight into the golden shield. When the crash happens, the blast just wipes out everything nearby. The whole area gets leveled in seconds. Both of them are completely locked in, going at it with their weapons and energy colliding hard. The commander smirks, looking totally sure of herself while getting ready to launch her counterattack. She lines up her shield, then jabs forward with a move she calls Twilight Strike. The launches his attack straight at him, landing right on his face. He gets knocked back, and now there's a small cut on his face. He fires back with so much power that the hit sends out a wild shockwave. The demoness gets blasted across the hallway, but she manages to stay steady behind her shield. She watches him go all in, thinking he's just throwing himself out there without a plan. She figures he'll burn through his energy quick and crash before long. He notices his sword isn't cutting it against her shield, so he starts thinking up a new way to get around her defense. Out of nowhere, purple energy shot out everywhere. He fires a net made of lightning straight from the ground while the chief just stands there, watching everything go down. The commander isn't impressed at all by his move. He just brushes it off, calling it weak, then jumps right over the lightning net like it's nothing. He spots the move she's pulling to guard herself, and right away it clicks. This is something his old friend came up with. Once he figured it out, he got mad fast. She'd swiped his friend's move and was actually putting herself on his level, and that just didn't sit right with him. The demon chief doesn't get why he's so mad, so he just straight up wonders what's got him all worked up. She steps up again, shield in hand, aiming the point straight ahead like she's about to go for a serious hit. The attack lands right in the guy's chest, messing him up pretty bad. He's hurt, but he still manages to pull back just as her weapon switches up and turns into this massive spear. The commander just laughs it off, thinking there's no way he'd lose focus when he's right in the middle of trying to beat her. Out of nowhere, these green energy snakes show up and coil around the demon's spear, catching her off guard. She's totally lost about what's going on and starts thinking this might just be another one of his lame moves. Out of nowhere, the brand new steel sword shows up, glowing crazy bright and looking loaded with power. The chief couldn't believe what he just saw. He thought the guy was bold for bringing that into their battle. The main guy's eyes go wild. Anyone watching could tell he means business now. He makes it clear that all the early stuff didn't count. Things are about to get real. He steps up, sword ready, letting everyone know it's finally time to get serious. Long ago, people talked about this hero who stepped up to battle a massive serpent just to keep the Three Moons safe. Everyone knows the story. When the hero lost his spear, he didn't back down. He just threw his hands up and kept fighting, pushing all the way until he gave everything he had to secure the win. Back in the fight, the commander lights up with this golden energy, getting ready to drop a serious move. She switches weapons, thinking it's the right move, but right away, she knows she messed up big time. He sees his chance, swaps out his spear for a shield, and charges right at her. He moves fast and lands a clean hit with his sword, catching her off guard. He's got that icy stare, and it's pretty clear he's winning this fight now. The grinned, reaching for the blade stuck in her body. She looked like she'd been waiting for this moment forever, totally locked in. Right then, her arm changes and turns into this massive gauntlet. Everyone calls it the armed hand of. She grabs her new weapon and gets ready to throw a punch, powering up with this insane golden energy that looks like it could wreck anything in her way. He throws up his arms to stop the hit, but that gauntlet packs way too much power and sends him stumbling backwards. The punch lands with so much force that the ground around them just breaks apart, cracks running everywhere from the spot they're standing. He knows he's gotta avoid every hit, no matter what, and look for any shot he gets to heal up. He doesn't bolt or freeze up. Instead, he locks in and gets ready to grab the massive gauntlet. He grabs her fist mid-swing, and the chief just stares, not expecting him to try locking up her arm like that. The guy lets her know he's been in a ton of fights before, so he's not worried at all about going to the ground with her. He pulls off some solid grappling moves and gets her on the ground, locking her down so she can't even move. She's got him locked down, and it's obvious he's hurting bad on the inside, but he's still hanging in there, tough as ever. The commander just grinned, acting like taking him out that easily would be way too boring. She slams her foot down right on his face, putting in all her power. She asks him to join her team, but he just stares back, eyes cold and locked in, making it clear he can't stand her. He slips out fast, sword in hand, and the chief just gets it. That's his response. Right then, the commander steps up and throws a heavy punch with her gauntlet, catching him straight on. The massive gauntlet came swinging in hard, crashing down on the hero with serious power. The crash sets off a huge blast, blowing the castle floor sword to pieces. The blast hits so hard that it punches straight through the roof of the tower and just keeps shooting up into the sky. The hit lands on the giant's skull, and it just explodes into pieces everywhere. The fight blows a huge gap straight through the tower, running all the way from the top to the bottom, and you can just see how wrecked everything is. She figures the sword pretty much saved him. Without it, that punch would straight up wreck him. The demoness looks at his messed up body and just can't believe he's still breathing. But even with everything trashed around him, the guy just pulls out his healing skills and gets himself back on his feet. He hops onto a floating rock and starts getting ready for whatever comes next. Up in the sky, a ball of purple energy started showing up right above the huge mountain shaped like a skull. His sword starts lighting up, and he gets ready to pull off his strongest move yet. The commander spots the move right away and starts thinking it might be the sword technique's second form. His move, Phantom Thunder, lands on the skull with unreal force. The demon chief's anger was obvious. She glared at him, ready to throw hands with her gauntlet, not backing down for a second. She steps up and catches his punch with her own, her fist lit up in gold. Both powers crash into each other, setting off a wild blast of energy. The crash is so intense that the whole fortress gets swallowed up by this crazy bright light. Once everything calms down, it's clear the tower took a serious hit and looks pretty wrecked now. The hall was trashed, smoke everywhere, but he stepped out covered in dust but still standing. He's back to his usual self, looking chill, but his clothes are all ripped up. His green eyes stay locked in, showing he's ready to take on whatever comes next. The chief stepped out through the smoke, looking pretty sure of himself. He figured his last move nearly took her out. For 2 years, no one had pushed the demoness this far. He was the first guy to actually make her use that move. She shows off her hidden power, the immortal battle banner. This thing just takes in any attack that comes at it and fires it right back. He just stands there, totally thrown off, trying to figure out what kind of insane power that immortal battle banner really has. The chief pulls out these glowing pink energy claws, getting ready to finish things off with one last move against her opponent. The commander rushed in, showing off her new weapons. She was all fired up, making it clear she wanted him to remember his pride even in the afterlife. He can't figure out what she's doing, and he starts thinking it might have something to do with his friend. The demoness suddenly freezes, looking completely thrown off. She has no clue what he just said, and it leaves her totally stuck mid-attack. Back in the present, the demon commander sits there, clearly thinking hard about everything that just happened in her territory. He pulls off the bandage from his neck, not really sure what he's about to see. Not too long ago, a squad of adventurers was sitting around, chatting about this legendary hero they were supposed to link up with. Out of nowhere, the girl notices this weirdly round mountain way out on the horizon. Out of nowhere, that so-called peak just starts shaking hard and actually lifts up off the ground. Nobody saw it coming. Everyone was totally. That thing wasn't a mountain at all. It was actually the head of a massive monster, and its eyes were glowing red. Out of nowhere, the huge mountain troll stands up, showing off its massive body right in front of the heroes. Instead of going after anyone, the monster suddenly grabs its head and just starts screaming like it's in serious pain. Everyone just stands there, totally lost, watching as the creature's head starts turning all pointy. One of the warriors spots the move and instantly knows it's the legendary Heavenly Fall sword technique. Out of nowhere, a sharp wave of energy slices straight through the creature's head, dropping it instantly. Out of nowhere, a bright beam blasts straight from the sky and goes right through the giant creature's head. The giant creature starts losing its balance and slowly goes down. The giant, straight up looking like it just dropped out of an anime, slammed to the ground, totally done for. Right then, the mysterious saint just vanishes, pulling off some wild move with this glowing golden energy. The mysterious figure throws up some kind of energy wall, keeping everyone safe from the insane drop. The troll hits the ground hard, and right away, a massive wave blasts across the whole battlefield. Once everything calms down, the monster's huge head just sits there on the ground, not moving at all. Far off, the group checks out the remains of the monster they just wiped out. Out of nowhere, the troll's teeth start shifting around, like something inside its mouth is trying to break free. The chompers started moving by themselves, and that freaked everyone out. The whole squad snapped into action, getting ready for whatever was coming next. Blood started pouring out of the creature's body, turning the whole spot into a messy scene. Right then, a hand covered in blood started creeping in, moving real slow. He comes out from inside the troll's mouth. Blood all over him, he drags himself out from inside the monster, barely holding it together. He stared them down, eyes cold, wanting to know about the 3 helpers talked about in her letter. The hero just lets everyone know they're all on the same side, teaming up to take down the demon emperor. The MC just straight up claims drugs aren't a problem. Keeping some distance between them just works out better for everyone. He jumps right in front of them, giving off this intense energy that everyone can feel. After he walked right by Blondie, he thinks that when emotions get too intense, they can start to weigh you down or even mess things up when you least expect it. Now the main guy steps up to take on the team's tank. The giant knight isn't buying Glan's ideas at all. He just shrugs off what the guy says, showing he really doesn't care at all about his opinion. He just turns around and heads out, not even looking back. The dude turned to the big guy and tried to smooth things over, saying the kid just acts tough and is hard to deal with sometimes. The knight doesn't stress about it at all, since he really doesn't care about being buddies with that dude anyway. Somewhere else, the demon with purple hair spots someone familiar and just stares, trying to figure out if it's actually them. Turns out she's watching him now, and he's looking way more put together than before. He just nods and gives a small smile, like he's got it handled. The demon girl lights up when she sees him and just grabs him in a big hug, totally pumped that he made it. She can't hold it in anymore. She just jumps straight into his arms, clutching him tight like she's never letting go. He starts wondering why she's suddenly tearing up, since she never acted like this before. She honestly never expected to run into a friend like this again. His eyes drop and you can just tell he's down, blaming himself for not stepping up when it mattered. Right then, two demons showed up at the door, looking around to figure out what was happening. Both monsters spot their general standing over the hero. She tells both of them to leave because she needs to recharge. They don't argue and just head out. They head out acting kind of sketchy. Once they're out of the way, he goes ahead and heals her up with a spell. He wonders if guilt over what went down before has been weighing on him this whole time. The demon girl interrupts him, pointing out how he's always putting the blame on himself for stuff, and honestly, she finds it pretty annoying. She's hurting bad, and he tells her to tough it out, pointing out that she actually messed him up worse than he did to her. After all that, the two of them just chill out, grab some fruit, and keep the conversation going. 2 years back, he realized he'd been brought back as a demon. Not only that, but he also managed to track down his sister. He can't believe what he's hearing, and starts wondering if his old buddy really bilayed on their side. He keeps pushing, wanting to know how his buddy ended up turning into a demon girl. She just stands there, eyes locked on him, looking dead serious. Not a word comes out. She's quiet, but you can tell she means business. She finally lets the truth drop, smirking as she shows everyone she's been a woman from the start. Just sits there totally stunned, trying to process what he just heard. It doesn't even feel real. He's stuck, not sure how to react. He's still trying to process everything, looking at his old buddy with zero clue about what's going on. For 3 years, she wondered if he actually believed she was a dude the whole time. He remembers seeing his friend hanging out with that huge armored knight. The sight just freezes him for a second, and right then, he starts thinking back to that time he got into it with. He wonders if he was the only one left out of the loop. She just nods, letting him know that, yeah, literally everyone else already knew. He's mad and wants to know why she kept it from him, but she just throws it right back, acting like it was obvious and he should known all along. Wants to make sure she's not messing with him, so she reminds him about the nickname he used to call her. He tells her straight up, he always thought that name sounded like something official, maybe even some military rank or title. Spots knocked out and wonders who she is, explains that she's actually his granddaughter. She turns around and spots these small wooden figures chilling on top of a barrel. She looks over the figurines, counting each one, and then it hits her. There's one missing from the lineup. She notices some stuff lying on the floor. She crouches down and grabs the stuff off the floor. He says they'll keep him in check next time, making sure he steps up. He's got that serious look on his face, locked in and ready to take out anything bad that comes his way. He's made up his mind. He's gonna keep everyone safe no matter what. His buddy just cracks up, thinking that Promise is honestly hilarious. She doesn't really think he can handle all that on his own, especially without backup. She makes it clear, when it's time to deal with the bad guys, he can trust her to back him up no problem. After that, the two of them lock in their partnership with a solid handshake. You can tell they're back as a team now, ready to handle whatever gets thrown at them. A few seconds later, the drawings on the barrel are done, showing off the old crew. The 5 wooden figures show the old squad of heroes back together again. They're just chilling on a cliff, looking out over everything, catching up on how wild the last 2 years have been and filling each other in on what's new. They start talking about the kingdom, and she mentions that the demon king these days just doesn't care about stuff at all. Sometimes, the demoness says her monster side tries to run the show. He nods, admitting that being part demon really changed him too. His friends started wondering what was up with him, and wanted to know what had changed for him. Noticed he's way more chill now, and doesn't come up with as many battle plans as before. Just stands there, totally confused, pulling a face that honestly looks kinda hilarious. Sala pulls up and wants to know who the woman with is. Can't help himself. He thinks the girl's pretty cute, so he reaches over and gives her cheeks a playful pinch. The hero brings over, and the woman takes one look at her outfit and starts complaining that she looks way too basic. She tells both of them to follow her downstairs, since her basement is way safer than staying upstairs. The group heads down this stone hallway, making their way to the secret hideout. When gets there, he's honestly surprised by how much info she's already pulled together. He checks out a board showing all the demon kings they're supposed to go after. All of a sudden, Sala spins around and lets everyone know she doesn't want to be treated like some kind of doll. Turns out, little Sala showed up wearing a fresh outfit and wanted to know if it looked good. The demoness starts showing off what she can do, clearly proud of her skills. Meanwhile, the hero checks out her clothes and thinks they actually look pretty cool. Sala can't stop checking herself out in the mirror. She's clearly vibing with her new look. Her friend points out that adding something for her hair would really finish off the whole outfit. Out of nowhere, he spots something she dropped, and a new plan pops into his head. He grabs this big blue shell. The second he spots the object, he knows right away it's the Soul Sea's call. Instantly, his whole vibe shifts. He gets locked in, ready to handle whatever's coming next. Tells her she got the shell, but then he drops that it's actually a 300-year-old relic. This artifact lets someone dive straight into another person's soul and check out their memories. He remembers catching some kind of vibe. Things got weird right before he got reincarnated. He wants her to take the item and dive into his soul to see what's really going on. She doesn't even think twice. She just nods and decides to help him out, totally locked in on his request. She's got that locked-in vibe, eyes set and serious, just waiting for him to give the signal so they can get going. The hero points out that the item won't do anything unless they find the other half. His friend suddenly starts freaking out when she realizes the other half of the shell isn't there. She lets him know some bandits ran off with the other half of the artifact. The guy wonders why she didn't just grab the item again, but she admits she's really bad at finding stuff. Thinks it's wild how, after all this time, she still can't get the hang of being sneaky. He thinks she's so bad at sneaking around that even someone who can't see would catch her right away. She starts tearing up, saying she'll work on it later, but he's not having it. He wants her to get on it right now. Somewhere else, the bandits are chilling at their camp, keeping the stolen artifact close by. The thieves sat around the campfire, chatting about all the stuff they managed to score. Inside the tent, the gang's leader is chilling with a woman, letting her in on what he's got planned next. The big boss comes out and straight up says he's trying to level up so he can take on this evil dragon. Outside, a couple of guys are hauling these two big boxes. They're actually gifts from another group. Looks like the heroes actually hid inside those boxes to slip into the camp without getting caught. Hiding out nods at how solid the plan is, but the main guy just wants her to skip the weird comparisons. They notice how packed the place is with bandits and realize charging in head first isn't really an option. In the middle of all the chaos, one of them can't help but think that someone might just grab their half of the shell and dip. They figured it was smarter to just watch for a bit and scope out where all the important stuff was stashed. There's this huge bandit, dude seriously built, just plops himself right on top of the box where our guy is hiding. The big guy thinks they should just chill and let their enemies fight it out first, then jump in when everyone else is tired. Out of nowhere, the box he was chilling on just snaps, and he ends up crashing straight to the floor. The guy's just lying there on the floor, clearly annoyed about how lame the box was. Meanwhile, his friend checks it out and sees there's actually nothing inside. He didn't want anyone to catch him, so he switched it up fast and turned into a snake.
Hidden inside a box snake, 4 earned hero and his paw stayed locked in, watching every move the enemy made. They check out the whole bandit camp, even the wrecked box he got stuck in. While all that's going on, the main thief is just chilling, talking to some woman. He mentions he's about to dip to the black market to trade some stuff. Right as he gets close, the elf jumps in and says the whole market got trashed by some insanely powerful person. The bandit chief suddenly picked up on something weird nearby and called out, trying to figure out who was lurking around. Out of nowhere, he shows up, letting everyone know the target's locked in. Now his friend's good to go and do her thing. Just as planned, jumps out of the box and lands a clean punch on one of them. She snatches him by the neck, clearly annoyed that they swiped all the best snacks and left her hungry. She's totally locked in, letting her anger take over as she goes all out on the monster. She doesn't hold back at all, just wrecking it with everything she's got. She takes out a couple of guys, then just chills for a second while a bunch more start closing in, all hyped up to throw hands. The gang leader totally loses it, pointing straight at our guy and saying it's all his fault showed up at their place. The chief gives the artifact to the woman. He freaks out and bolts straight for the main guy, dragging the girl along as a weak cover while calling out for backup. He barely makes it a few steps before someone takes him down with a quick hit, stopping him right in his tracks. The elf steps out and basically lets everyone know she was done with that dude a long time ago. She's clearly over it and calls him out, not holding back at all. The hero locks eyes with the elf, looking dead serious. The elf just stands there, messing with him and acting like he owns the place, basically daring the hero to come and take the artifact if he really wants it. She keeps running her mouth, telling him that if he grabs the item, she'll just make him her next toy. He doesn't even pause, just bolts ahead fast as ever and grabs the thing straight from her hand. The other guys just stand there, stunned that their boss got dropped that fast. Whilst going all out against the other bandits, he can't help but notice how she moves and starts judging her fighting style in his head. He says her power lets her attack and defend at the same time, almost like she's got both moves stacked together. He decides to show off some moves, and suddenly this energy snake just pops up in his hand. The serpent sinks its fangs into his friend's shoulder. He tells her not to fight it and just let the power flow through. He tells her that if she keeps up with how it flows, she'll figure out a new way to use her talent seal. He decides to show her real quick, and suddenly this green and yellow glow just wraps around her. She goes all out, dropping a massive move that takes out every enemy nearby in seconds. She's got a new shield and spear now, and honestly, picking up new skills like this isn't too bad. The hero picks up the artifact and decides it's time for everyone to head back at the hangout spots, passed out at the table, knocked out cold with a ton of food all around him. He points out that this thing is pretty fragile, and you only get one shot to check out what went down before. Shot him a worried glance, but he just brushed it off, letting her know it was no big deal. With the artifact now in his grip, he let her know to get ready, right as the thing started lighting up like crazy. Out of the artifact, a huge snake made of pure dark energy bursts out and goes straight for her. Out of nowhere, he finds himself standing by himself, surrounded by heavy smoke deep inside his own soul. He shoots her a sly grin, basically letting her know she shouldn't be snooping around where she doesn't belong. Right then, his friend shows up inside his soul space, curious about what's in there that she's not supposed to notice. Out of nowhere, this massive, messed up statue pops out of the shadows and totally freaks her out. She spots the statue and clocks that it's the god of mercy. Right away, the way it looks stands out to her. Things got real messed up. His friend just stands there totally frozen, staring at what his soul actually looks like. He goes on to lay it out. This whole place is basically his soul. Suddenly, wild flashes from the past start running through his head, like the universe is showing him everything all at once. The hero's soul form looked over at the vision, then motioned for his companion to keep moving forward without him. She heads straight for the red light, determined to figure out what's really going on. She spots a memory where a knight gets hit hard by this bright, golden attack. She suddenly figures out that what she's seeing is a memory he had after she was already gone. Dark red energy wrapped all around him. He remembered getting backed into a corner by the enemy, nowhere to run. Sits there watching all the memories play out in the MC's head. He doesn't say anything, just keeps his eyes locked on everything, looking pretty serious and clearly worried about what's going down. The evil dude doesn't even flinch. He just says he's got a backup move ready. He's planning to use someone else's power to stick around. He had this ruthless plan where he'd take over a demon's body using some wild possession move, basically bringing his soul back in a whole new way. The blue symbol suddenly breaks apart, and the evil being starts grumbling because its transformation wasn't finished yet. Right then, a bunch of wild energy crashes together, showing that somebody just pulled up and messed with the demon emperor's ritual. His friend suddenly ends up surrounded by blood everywhere, staring at its body, a woman she used to know from back in the day. The camera zooms in on her, showing she gave everything to put an end to the ritual. The fire spirit let him know the possession didn't go through, but no one really knows what's gonna happen next. Out of nowhere, a creepy grin shows up in the dark. Turns out the plan actually kept him alive in the end. His friend just froze, eyes wide, when he found out the demon emperor pulled off a reincarnation too. Just like that, the memory cuts out and everything breaks apart, almost like a mirror smashing. She drops straight into darkness, no warning. She pops up in this creepy spot, instantly clocking that she's still trapped inside his soul. She knows she's gotta find him and give him a heads up ASAP.